Welcome aboard.
Dowsing with Dave.
I'm David Doremus, and in the next few video podcasts, we're going to explore the art of witching. It's actually a science, but nobody knows why. But we're going to explain why, and we're going to prove it. Witching is having implements in your hand that will detect gravity anomalies. It's the amount of energy state that's flowing into the ground. What we need to do is we need to have our eyes set on the horizon, and when we do that, if we enter a zone where there's increased gravity, our hands will dip and the wands will cross. And when we come out of the zone and our hands come back up again, we will again find our wands parallel and aligned in the horizontal with the earth. Now, I'm using here brass rods that are coated with flux just because that's what I have in the mill right now, but anything will work. You can use forked branches, you can use I like coat hangers because they're readily available in most locations. You can use plastic. I've even done it with paper straws. You know, as long as you're bent at the corner. Problem with paper is it's so light it blows in the wind. It's really hard to keep the wind gust out. Now I've come here and I've marked on the floor where I know there are subterranean pipes buried. I'm going to walk forward. Yeah, you can say, well, you know where they are, so you're going to play with it, but don't worry, before we're done, we're going to find a lot of objects buried in the ground that I don't know where they are, but just to demonstrate. As I come forward with my eyes on the horizon, and when I come into this zone of increased energy state flow, my wands will cross, and then when I pass through the zone, they'll come back again. It's not that I've intentionally doing it. My brain is just telling me that there's an increased flow there. Where there's an increased flow, if my hands dip, they cross. Conversely, if my hands go up, they go out, because gravity is moving the wands for me. Okay, now I'm going to come forward across the pipe, looking at the horizon, not looking at the floor. Now when I get through the zone, they'll come back together again. I can go backwards. Same thing. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to cross again. Now I'm going to turn 90 degrees over here. I can walk forward. There's also a pipe in the ground there. Okay, there it is. Now I'm going to go backwards across the same zone. Again, they'll cross. They'll come back together. Now something that's real interesting. I'm going to go right into the zone where it's crossed. And now I'm going to turn 90 degrees. And looking at the horizon. There we go, we're stabilized. Now if I step off to the side of my brain that's still directly above the pipe is staying stable. And I come back in again. Now I'll go off the other way. Okay, you don't see that every day. Out of the zone, into the zone, out of the zone. Now, in the 1980s, the German government wanted to investigate dowsing. You know, water is an issue throughout all continents in the world today. And what they did is the German government awarded a 250,000 pound grant to the University of Munich to have them design an experiment and bring all the top witchers in the world together, which they did. They brought 100 in. It was called the German Barn Experiment. A little warm here today. We're in the middle of the Mojave Desert, 110 degrees. It's already over 100 degrees inside the mill building here. But the German government was concerned about witching There's a water shortage throughout the entire world, or a fresh water shortage throughout the entire world, and they wanted to investigate if there was really science to witching. You know, perhaps it could increase water production, or they could discover some other prior unknown physical manifestation. So they awarded the 400,000 marks, approximately 250,000 American, to the University of Munich. They brought together 100 of the top dowsers in the world. They put them on a second story of a barn. On the first story of the barn, they laid out a bunch of movable water pipes to see how accurately the dowsers on the second story, about 12 feet above the pipes, could detect. Miserable results. There was nothing greater than just random chance on a few of the people actually detecting a pipe. They concluded that there was no science, no physical manifestation that would be causing this, and then basically it was quackery. They were wrong. Their experiment was poorly designed. Let me show. Okay, we've got a water hose here. I'm going to move forward in a zone that I'm not going to get any deviation at all until I get up to where the pipe is buried. But what I wanted to show is that if I lay a water pipe on the ground, I can walk across it all day long, forward and backwards, and spin around in circles. It doesn't matter. You cannot detect a pipe empty or with water or with any other chemicals or fluids in it sitting atop the ground. The pipe has to be buried a minimum of 12 inches. And what we're detecting is there's a zone there where when this energy state is moving towards the center of mass in the earth, that this liquid type energy, always have problems with this word, luminiferous ether is the term that was used by the ancients to believe that there was this liquid type medium, which explained a lot of things. So you had this liquid energy, you could have the duality of light particles and waves. But then in 1897, Michelson, Morley, two scientists at the Naval Observatory, performed an experiment that conclusively proved that we were not subjected to any kind of energy state flows. I'll get into that later, but based upon that, you had a lot of scientists trying to explain the standard model of the universe. The most famous was Einstein with his theories of space-time continuum and dimpling of space to explain what gravity is, and it's hokum. It's wrong. Gravity is basically this energy state flow, which is all matter particles consume this liquid type energy, creating a massive inrush towards the center of whatever the mass particles are, you know, an accumulation of the hundreds of trillions of particles, say, in the earth. Coming back to my pipes in the floor, I've done this before. I walk forward, or I enter where the pipe is. My hands deviate because they're trying to maintain parallel. My inner brain is sensing an increase in the gravity flow, so therefore it's thinking I'm still parallel. But if I step over here, I've got an empty floor grate down here. It's just a gutter. It flows into the floor, and there's an inlet pipe there. Now I can come across this grate. Absolutely no deviation whatsoever. But now if I were to take and put a piece of plywood on top of this grate and put 12 inches or 18 inches of dirt on top of that, I now have equivalent of a larger pipe, and then I would get the crossing as I came across it. Nothing's different except that there'll be dirt. It'll now be a buried hole instead of a hole on top of the surface. I can teach anyone how to witch if they've got an open mind. And the open mind is meaning that they have to follow instructions. The instructions are you got to be looking at the horizon. Our brain has 4 million years of evolvement to sense what gravity is. The gravity flows. The marbles in our inner ear senses that gravity. And it's very, very sensitive. If you're looking at the ground, which most people that I try to teach do, if I walk forward, I have no horizontal reference, so therefore I have no ability from my mind to sense that there's a gravity deviation. If I'm looking at the horizon and I move forward, there we go. What happens is this zone, I'm encountering a little bit greater density flow. That what happens is right here, I've got a pipe in the floor, and there is this liquid energy flowing towards the center of the earth. It also is here and every place perpendicular to the horizon. But what happens here with the pipe in the ground is this liquid energy is virtually frictionless. It's going to seek the zone of least resistance. And the liquid energy that comes down here senses that pipe once it gets in the ground. It doesn't happen above that. Once it enters the ground, and it'll start flowing towards that open pipe. And then once it enters the open pipe, then it'll continue on down. So there's, instead of perpendicular flows in this region right here with a pipe in the ground, it comes down and it'll flow like this. So I've got a greater concentration of this liquid energy at this point in addition to the normal. There's a little bit greater density here. There's an experiment that was done in University of Birmingham. We'll get to that later. But they've got a machine that they're real proud that they were able to detect a gravity anomaly above a 4-foot pipe buried in the ground. Big deal. I can find an 1/8-inch pipe buried in the ground. 4-foot pipe, you put that 30 feet in the ground, I'll be able to show you where it is. When I traveled to the University of Birmingham, I offered them $50,000 for an afternoon's work to come out there and, would bury a pipe in the ground. They could run their instrument over it. It's almost like a little compactor. They said they had no interest because they had unlimited amounts of money coming in from the oil industry. And they were going where the money was, even though the science was overwhelming. They didn't believe it. And the one professor that I met with, I showed him the wands as we were walking across this parking lot and through the building. I said, right here's a pipe. I can't tell you whether it's an open pipe, whether it's electric. The wands that I'm using are copper wires. I can use silver wire, I can use iron wire. I've connected ohm meters to them. I've tried to see if there's any other disturbances or any other reason causing it. I can come up with nothing other than the energy state theory. Now I'm going to walk forward. I'm now 5 foot 5 inches to my brain, plus another 4 feet up. Can I still detect the deflection? Yes. I can report that it's not as strong as it would be if I was lower. I got to keep looking out at the horizon. It's kind of difficult. I'm trying not to step off. Here, I'll try that one more time. I'm going to inch my way forward. Cameraman promises he'll catch me if I fall. Wait a second, he'll save his camera first. Okay, there we go.
Camera will break the fall.
Okay, now we're going to go up on the roof. But I'm on the roof now. I'm at 5 foot 5 inches plus about 20 feet. So I'm about 25 and a half feet up, and the pipe is 3 feet in the ground. Now we'll go see if I can find it. But to keep my eyes looking out at the horizon. Okay, when I was up on the roof, it was windy, but I could not detect the pipe. It was roughly 28 and a half feet below my inner ear. I know that if the pipe were, say, 6 inches in diameter instead of 3 inches in diameter, I'd probably be able to detect it. For sure, if it was a 20-inch diameter pipe, even 20 feet in the ground, I'd be able to detect it that far away. It has to do with the amount of consolidated energy state flows that are coming in. Now, I've also done this experiment in an executive chair. I've gone forward and backwards across and been able to detect it. Much stronger, much easier than when I'm at 5.5 feet. I've even done it on a car dolly, being pulled by a rope 8 inches above the ground. It's still stronger still. The closer I am to the ground, the easier it is to detect these flows.